Okie dokie, boys and girls. So today we have another leg day, and since we achieved the bulking goal of 20 Nordic curls last training, last leg day, that means some of the focus is gonna shift onto the pistol squat. Of course, I'm gonna continue training Nordic curl as well, but for now, it's gonna be at a bit of a lower intensity. Not only because I need a bit of a deload, I've been progressing for months upon months upon months without stop, so I need to slow down a bit, but also because I need to shift my focus to other goals, right? I still have 3 other strength goals that I need to achieve, as well as the fucking weight goal. But that being said, today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some finger-assisted Nordic curls and then do quite a lot of pistol squats, right? I'm gonna try that volume approach of the Olympic weightlifters, where you just squat heavy a lot. And I'm curious to see how it was going. I did it a couple of weeks ago, like 10 sets of 3 reps with 30 kilos, which was kind of like a feeler session. But now that I actually know my 1 rep max, right? I know that I can squat 56 kilos and 60 kilos is too much. Now that I have that gauge, I can basically use percentages of the weight and start doing this Olympic weight style training, right? So they usually do it with about 70 to 80% of their maximum effort. So for me, that would be somewhere around 44 kilos. Although if I just, think about that, for 10 sets, 3 reps, that's fucking, that's a lot, right? So I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to do at least 5 sets or try to. And then if all goes well, do 6, 7, 8. We'll see how many sets I get to. But that's the plan for today's training, and I'm quite nervous for it. So, keep in mind, boys, when you are training, right, you check off one box, doesn't really matter, right? That's what you did yesterday. So the training just continues, and you have a lot of other boxes to still check off. You can, make goals infinitely, right? You can infinitely just search for to get stronger, basically, and that's what I'm gonna do, because it's not like this bulk is the end goal, right? It's just one part of me trying to become the strongest I can possibly be. So, all right, enough yapping. Let's get started. Okay, what I'm gonna do is just use my index fingers as assistants, which is, it's a very light intensity for me because I can do the Nordic curls without assistance. But instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna control every rep, make every rep as hard as possible. So I'm gonna do 5 sets of this, aim for 10 reps on each set, perhaps 12. But basically, I'm gonna pause at the top, go down slowly, so that it's very, very difficult to get those 10 reps done. And basically, this will allow me to still get a good burn, a good pump, even though the intensity isn't very high, Or I guess the intensity is high because I'm going quite close to my max, but the load is way less, so it's easier to recover from. All right, 4 more sets. All right, holy shit, don't underestimate these assisted reps because the burn is insane. Because you are controlling all the reps, you're able to let the correct muscles burn and work, whereas if you just horse cook everything, yes, of course you're gonna stimulate your muscles, but it's a bit less controlled. So it's not like one or the other. I think they both have their usages, and you should do both to benefit from both. Really, it's the same as static and dynamic training, right? Are you gonna only do one? No, you pick both, right? Because they both have benefits, and it's the same for the style of execution of your reps. So 5 sets done. I'm quite tired from this. I'm gonna rest up and do, or try to do, one more set of just unassisted Nordic rolls, if that's possible. I don't really know how much power I have left, but if possible, I want to do one set just as a stimulus, basically. Okay, so that's it for the hamstring training, and the order might seem a bit weird, right? I do the lighter exercise first, and then I went on to the heavier exercise. Now, that's because at every training, basically, you want to do the exercise that aligns most with your training goal first. You want to do that when you have the most energy. And for today's goal, today's hamstring training, the goal wasn't to get, horsecock strong at the Nordic curl, The goal was to get a good hamstrings pump with the least amount of strain on my body possible. And that's not only muscular, because muscular, I went quite hard, right? I went to failure, but also tendons and ligaments, People forget about this. You have your muscular recovery, but you also have the ligaments and the tendons, which actually, in most cases, take longer than the muscular recovery. So in order to save my tendons, I did the pump work first. I did the science-based stuff, if you will, first. And then with the energy I had left, I played around for one set and basically did some bodyweight Nordic curls as well. Now, if I were to have done that vice versa, do the Nordic curls first, I would have had all my muscular energy as well, allowing me to go further and deeper into the set, put out more power, and it would in turn also put more strain on my tendons, which is what I do not want, right? I want to save my tendons for the next training, basically. I want to allow them to recover while getting a good pump. So that's why kind of, it seems to be in the reverse order, but that's okay. So for now, what I'm going to do, well, first of all, is a warm-up set on the pistol squats, because today's goal, like I said, is 5 to 10 sets of 3 reps with 44 kilos. Now, that might be something that's not going to happen at all. It's kind of difficult to gauge for me at the moment. So I'm just going to see what happens. But the reason it's difficult to gauge is because the backpack, poses more problems than I expected. So this is kind of like a specific thing to me. But basically, there is some variable which I don't know how to control yet, or I don't know the effect of yet. So I am having difficulties gauging, how much training I can handle. Now, if that's the case, I'm not going to solve these questions by not training, right? Many times I get questions of people asking if they should do A or B or C, whatever, right? Well, the answer is go ahead and fucking try it. Try the options you just mentioned and see which one fits the most. Because you can speculate all you want, but you have to put stuff into practice as well. That's the most important part. There is no difference between you, just talking about training and wondering about training and then not executing it, or someone else just like who's dreaming and talking, oh, one day I want to do this and that, and then just not taking action. Not taking action is not taking action. So when you have questions like that, just give yourself some leeway, give yourself some room to play around, right? Don't like set one specific goal of I have to do 10 sets, I have to do this weight, or else. No, just kind of gauge, well, if it goes bad, I can kind of do this. If it goes well, I can kind of do this, and then try to aim in between it. And then on your training, you can adjust as you go. So that's enough yapping, I guess. Let's see how the warm-up set goes. So this is gonna be 30 kilos. And then if that goes well, then, well, let's move on to 40 or 44. All right. Flexibility is a real bitch when you're putting on that backpack because it's pulling you backwards. But let's put on some more weight and see how it goes. Two reps is gonna be better. All right. The third set has been the best set until now. That's because I'm not doing the reps to my maximum, but I'm saving energy in the tank, allowing my body to recover properly for the next set. And basically, I am able to do or attack every set with kind of the same amount of energy, not really, but a better technique. So hopefully this trend continues, because I did move down the reps from 3 to 2. If I would have done 3 reps, it would have been too much. I wouldn't have been able to recover in between sets. But because I did drop the reps, it would be cool if I can get 6 sets at least. So let's try and get that. Okay, so that's 7 sets done. I'm gonna leave it at that. But a lot of technique work has been done. This was heavier than expected, but I'm really starting to understand what I have to do to make the path smooth. The path up and down, the most efficient way. And that's really what it's about, because strength is not only about muscle size. Of course, if you train for strength and you eat enough, you're gonna put on muscle. But aside from that, you also have your technique. And in order to get a good technique, you have to just practice over and over and over again. And for me, that's really what I'm doing right now. We're doing 7 sets, that's quite a lot, And the Olympic weightlifters, they do 10, just to get the technique in, just as many times as possible, with a substantially heavy weight as well. So, yeah, what I found out today, if you're curious, is, well, as always, my right is easier than my left one. I think it's because the hip mobility and the ankle mobility on my right is better. So what I'm able to do on my right leg is really move with my ass towards my heels, kind of let them hit each other or get on top of each other, while my ankle mobility and hip mobility on the other leg, on my left leg, is not as good. So I have to kind of lean backwards a bit, and that doesn't allow me to put out as much power. So if I can get that down, the difference between the two will probably, decrease quite a lot. But that's something for the next training, because what I'll do now, next training, is a lighter one, where I do some past pistol squats, and then again a heavier one, where I focus, on this heavy stuff. That's no surprise. But lastly, what I'm gonna do here is just to cool off some bodyweight squats, because I did a lot of heavy stuff right now. 2 reps, that's in the lower end of the rep range, as you can imagine. So 1 set here of just bodyweight pistol squats, bit of a higher rep range. Well, higher rep range, I don't want to kill myself. So like 5 to 10 reps, whatever feels good. And then that will be it for today, These pistol squats, it's kind of the same purpose as the pull-ups at the end of the training yesterday, as the push-ups at the end of the training 2 days ago, right? They're kind of just there to get the blood flowing a final time, get the body loosened up so that it can start recovering. This feels like fucking air. I lied. I'm gonna do one more set of 10. This is way too much fun. I'm just bouncing basically. Okie dokie. So that's it for today's training. And even though I was weaker than I expected, I didn't do 10 sets of 44 kilo squats for 3 reps. Instead I did 7 for 2. Even though that all happened and I'm weaker than I expected, I still think it's a good training because we all love the max out trainings and the fucking big volume sessions and just going balls to the wall. But in order to achieve those sessions, you have a bunch of just normal sessions in between, and they can go good or bad, and you don't know. But the most important part is not if it goes good or bad. It's more like if you did it or not, right? You can tell yourself in the morning, oh fuck, I'm tired, I'm not gonna train today. When you're supposed to train, right? But there's other people who, even though they're tired, if they're supposed to train, they're gonna fucking train, right? And it's those people, the people who can stay consistent no matter what, the people who have that voice in their head telling them like, oh, you're a fucking pussy, and you're gonna regret it if you don't fucking train. Those people, those that stay consistent, those are gonna achieve the big volume sessions, the max out sessions, and the crazy achievements. And even if you don't have like a specific goal to train for, right? For example, for me, the Nordic curl, I achieved 20 reps. My imaginary goal, my temporary goal is now gone, so to speak. Does that mean I'm not going to train it anymore? No, because ultimately that's just a temporary thing, and I'm not trying to train temporarily. I'm trying to do this for my entire life. So even though the small goals are there, like the bulking goals, they might go away eventually, right? Or hopefully they go away eventually. Hopefully I achieve them. But that doesn't mean that there is no next goal, And in the end, all these small little goals and achievements that you're looking for, they're just for the greater purpose of yourself. Because in the end, right, it's not about the fucking achievement of the goal. It's about how you get there, right? And along the way, you learn a bunch of stuff, you learn a lot about yourself as well, right? And that's how you get better. So that's what I'm going to continue doing. That's what you should continue doing, even if you achieve a goal or if you maybe fail the goal, right? You should just continue, right? Keep consistent and stay training for life. That's it. So that's also it for today's training. It's already fucking 11:30 and I've only eaten a banana, but the weight is on point. 73.5 kilos is going to be the average of this week at least, which I'm very happy with. So, I'm going to head downstairs, have some breakfast or a brunch, I guess, and then have a shower. Because it's not because now the weight is piling up again that I can slack off. That's the trap I don't want to fall into. So, breakfast it is.